Hello everybody, welcome back to Magic Stew. My name is Kyle Ott, and Chris Lyons, this video is for you, man. So Chris actually commented in the comment section, it's kind of redundant, of our first draft bootcamp video for this set, which was with me, and he asked me a question, which was, what cards do I think are underrated in Commander? And I thought it was such a good question, I told him I was going to do a video on it, so Chris, this one's for you, man. And for all of you guys who have been commenting on all of our videos, thank you so much. We don't make a ton of money on Magic Stew, shockingly enough. A YouTube channel with like 256 subscribers. We're not rolling in the dough just yet. Yet, though. Who knows? We don't get sent preview cards or like special stuff, but I gotta be honest, I love doing what we do because I like straight up live for this. Like, I live for talking to you guys about Magic. We're back in my dining room, by the way, which is why this is at an odd angle. I've got stuff splayed out all over my table, but like I was saying, I live for this. I love being able to interact with you guys, and so if you have a video idea, or if you have a question, or if you have a comment, or you want to talk to us, let us know in the comment section. Seriously, I can't tell you how exciting how excited I was to get a message from Chris and talk a little bit about Magic. And today we're going to talk a little bit about underrated commanders, at least in my opinion, underrated commander cards from M19. And we're going to start it off with someone that just doesn't want to grin and bear it. I love dad jokes. It's Gor Claw, the Scourge of Calcisma. Now, first things first, I love Gor Claw because I love bears, and bears beats Battlestar Galactica. Okay, sorry. Before we go any further with the list, I want to talk a little bit about my criteria for what I think makes an underrated commander card for this set. First things first, I am the president of Value Town. I love getting a little bang for my buck. And so the first thing that we're going to talk about is value. You know, is this card worth the money? Is it cheap? Is it affordable? I love Commander, but Commander is getting really expensive, much to my chagrin. And so I want to make sure that if I'm talking about a card, you guys will be able to afford it, and I like Scourge of Calcisma for that price. Second criteria, it has to be powerful. I don't want to give you guys things that I think are going to be potentially weak. I want them to do something that I think is a very powerful effect at the very least, or could be a powerful effect if it is abused. 3, it has to be interesting. I play Commander because it is unlike any other Magic format. I love Commander because it's so different. I love Commander because I pointed this out to a couple people that I had just started playing with. It's literally the only format where someone's like, I'm going to make a giant monster made entirely of volcanoes. And someone's like, oh, I'm going to make a black hole that's full of bears, and they're going to fight each other in a big boxing ring made of tacos. And you're like, yeah, okay, cool, it's Commander. It sounds about par for the course. So I want things that are interesting. So Gor Claw Scourge of Calcisma is at an incredibly reasonable price point right now. At the time of recording this video, it was at about $1, but I'm going to probably double check it while I'm editing anyway, because it may have dropped in price, because a lot of the singles from M19 are dropping in price. So it's affordable. It's interesting because it's a bear, and I love bears. It is a legendary bear, and to my knowledge, it is the only legendary bear that is not a changeling. I mean, obviously, I guess Mutavault is kind of a bear as well. So, but this is a legendary bear, and it's flat out a bear, which is really, really cool. And I also think it's incredibly powerful. So green decks are constantly looking for a way to break through blockers and break through defensive creatures. And so the fact that the Gor Claw, the Scourge of Calcisma, I'm just going to call him Scourgy for a while. Maybe Clawy? Nah, Scourgy sounds better. So old Scourgy is such a great Magic card because not only does he give himself trample, he gives every other big creature that you have trample and a power and toughness boost, which means that he's kind of like a budget version of Craterhoof Behemoth, which is actually really insane. And the best part about Gor Claw, or Old Scourgy as I'm going to call him for the rest of forever now, is that he actually makes casting all of your big fatties that much cheaper, which is insane. He's like repeatable mana acceleration that you can use for big guys. He's number 5 on my list. He is the lowest on my list because he sits at 3 toughness, which means that he's going to die to literally everything from a lightning strike on up. and that's not very good. He doesn't have Hexproof or Shroud. He doesn't have a way for you to discard cards to like blink him. So a lot of times you're gonna lose old Scourgy before you can get to use a lot of those cool abilities. So he is a little bit fragile, despite being a giant, massive bear. So that's why he gets to rank at number 5. But I think Old Scourgy is a good call if you're looking for an underrated commander card. Moving on to our next part of this list, I want to talk a little bit about patient rebuilding. I like that I'm looking this way, like I don't have my show notes written on a piece of paper in front of me. Patient rebuilding is the next card, and this is more of a speculative pick for me. I really think that milling is an interesting and intriguing commander effect. I also think that drawing cards is particularly powerful in Commander. So this is more of a speculative pick. This is a card that I am experimenting with in card-based decks, or like card draw-based Commander decks. So I'm talking about stuff like Nekusar, or I'm talking about stuff like Jin Gitaxias. So again, at the price that it's at right now, which is not a whole lot, I actually think Patient Rebuilding is not a terrible speculative pick. Like I said, I'm experimenting with it. I'm enjoying what I have done so far. I wouldn't call this a commander staple, but it's like a little bit of like cilantro on your food. You know what I mean? It's not the whole meal. It just kind of adds a nice little zest to it. So I'm kind of enjoying Patient Rebuilding. Also, it ranks a little bit higher than Gor Claw simply because it's a little bit harder for someone to remove enchantments, and because this isn't like a necessarily game-breaking enchantment, it has a chance to stay around a little bit longer, I think, in Commander. So Patient Rebuilding is definitely something that you should be looking towards if you play a deck kind of like Nekusar or Jin Gitaxias, both of which I think are phenomenal commanders as well. So moving forward on, I had to put these two cards together, but I love them both, and I actually think looking at my show notes now, I kind of want to rank them like a little bit higher actually, but I've got Chaos Wand and Transmogrifying Wand. Now the reason that I put these two cards on the list isn't just because they are super cheap and they are super interesting. One of these cards just snatches spells out of your opponent's deck, and the other one turns your opponent's creatures into oxen, which is amazing because Pillarfield Ox is one of my favorite cards. Just being able to like, you're an ox, haha, is amazing. But one of the things that I have constantly been trying to do in my own EDH, and I know this is a big thing for the EDH community at large, is trying to make monocolored commanders a little bit more viable. And part of the weakness, I think, for a lot of monocolored commanders is removal. I'm thinking specifically for mono white and mono red commanders. A lot of them have trouble dealing with big creatures, which is why I put Transmogrifying Wand on this list. No longer do you have to worry about, oh man, my Lightning Bolt's not going to do a whole lot in my Norn the Wary commander deck, right? Like you can Transmogrifying Wand somebody's big thing. Which works really well. Like obviously in Standard this card is slow, but because Commander is a slower format, it doesn't matter. And usually in Standard, giving your opponent a 2/4 body you had to spend mana to do is really bad. But because it's Commander, a 2/4 that has no abilities is going to get outclassed anyway, and it's probably way worse than the card that you actually managed to destroy, which is awesome. So I thought this could actually shore up a lot of potential weaknesses that monocolored Commander decks might have. Again, there's probably better, I know I say better, but more expensive ways to shore up those weaknesses, but I actually think Transmogrifying Wand is pretty interesting and deserves to be experimented with a little bit more. I think you all can join me in your Transmogrifying Wand experiments because I think it's cool. If I have to rank the two wands, however, I think Chaos Wand is significantly better. Being able to grab a spell from your opponent's deck in something like Standard or Limited, a lot of times like, oh, you'll hit a Settle the Wreckage when no one's attacking, or in Limited you'll be like, Lich's Caress your tutu, haha, which actually feels pretty good because you get that spell out of their deck. But in Commander, where everyone is playing the most ridiculous crap in the world, I love the fact that I can just steal some of their stuff. So think about all of these aren't even like fringe cases, but think of the spells that people routinely play. Cyclonic Rift, Damnation, Wheel of Fate, just to name a few. Stuff like Balance or Rout, Cataclysm, Armageddon. All of these spells routinely see play in Commander, and you're going to be able to steal some of them from your opponent. So if you are playing a low power Commander deck, right, like a mono white commander deck. I knew a guy once who had like a mono white Isamaru Hound of Kanda deck, and I loved it because it was so janky. But even if you're playing a mono white commander deck that lacks a lot of that interaction, Chaos Wand can kind of shore up that weakness. And I think that's really spectacular. I'd highly encourage you to pick up all of them, to be honest. I'd probably actually pick up a full playset of Chaos Wand because I plan on jamming it into a bunch of my commander decks and just kind of enjoying that interesting aspect and that very powerful aspect of it too. Moving forward, so this is less of a value pick than all of the other ones, but sitting at about $5, I think I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Omniscience on this list. I know this is a reprint. I know this isn't like a brand new card. You're probably like, Kyle, we want an M19 stuff. But here's the deal. I am the president of Value Town. I have a Value Town suit. I have a meeting with the Pentagon of Value Town to talk about value right after this. No, I'm kidding. But Omniscience is played in like a tier 1-ish, tier 2-ish legacy deck. It's also one of the most powerful cards that you can play in Commander. Being able to just cast all of your stuff for free is ludicrous. And this card used to be like, 20, 25, 30 bucks. I remember a time when it was really expensive to play something like Omnitel or Omnishow in Legacy because of this. And right now, Omniscience, which again is one of the most powerful cards, not just in EDH, but in Legacy, which is a highly competitive vintage style format, is like $5 a piece right now on TCG Player. That's insane to me. Like, that's amazing. So I think if you are new to Magic, whether you're new to Commander or you're thinking about maybe expanding your collection to be a little bit stronger, a little more robust, I think now is the best time to pick up Omniscience. At $5 a piece, I don't think you will regret buying one of the most powerful Magic cards ever made. I think Omniscience is great. Please go buy a $5 copy of it because I truly think that this is going to be a spectacular investment for you down the road. Not just for EDH, but for your collection in general. And then finally, my last one is actually not a colored card at all. It's another artifact, and this one might surprise you, but my top Commander sleeper from M19 is Dragon's Hoard. Now, hear me out. I know what you're saying. First things first, let's talk about the baseline on this card, all right? I know, I just silence your anger with me for just a moment, all right? The baseline on this is a manalith, essentially, right? And mana rocks are always decent in Commander. Dragon's Hoard is going to not only fix your mana, but accelerate your mana. And that's not a bad place to start when your fail case in Commander is giving you a little extra oomph and pushing you forward and helping you to fix that mana. I think that's great. But on top of this, too, Dragon's Hoard falls into one of the most popular tribal commanders of all time, which is Dragons, and Dragons also happens to be one of the most popular kitchen table, like casual decks of all time as well, which means that you can actually use Dragon's Hoard in all of your like competitive tier EDH decks, like if you're playing something like Scion of Ur-Dragon, or if you want to jam it into your Crosus-themed kitchen table deck that you play with your brother, or that you bring to your family reunion so that you and your uncle that play Magic can do it together. You can jam it into both of those decks, and it works, which is amazing. I actually think this is an insanely low cost for what is, I think, one of the most interesting and, frankly, best EDH cards in the set. And not only does it accelerate you that mana, but it draws you cards every time that you cast a dragon. Like, that's amazing, which means that every dragon that you cast is potentially bringing you into more dragons. Yeah, it's ludicrous to me that more people aren't talking about this. Especially because whether or not we like to admit it as Magic players, the secondary market does play a really big deal in what we do. And so a surprising factor in driving prices in the secondary market are those kitchen table players. Kitchen table players love like tribal themed decks, and they love big, awesome, ridiculous, insane crap, and Dragons happens to fall into both of those categories. So it is nuts to me that no one is talking about Dragon's Hoard. I think it's an absolute steal right now. I would highly encourage you to go out and at least get a couple copies of it, because I truly believe this card is going to maybe not rise in price. Like, I don't think Dragon's Hoard's ever going to be like a $40 uncommon or like a $40 card. But I think Dragon's Hoard is always going to be a useful, effective role player in a bunch, like a truly wide swath of casual and commander decks. Simply because Dragon is such an awesome creature type. It's such a popular creature type. It's a creature type that Magic and Wizards has seen fit to put into almost every single set. I really think that this is probably like the best investment that you can make. If you're going to buy, one playset of any card from this set, and if you're like a casual or EDH player, I truly think it should be Dragon's Hoard. That's about what I've got for tonight, folks. There you go. My top 5 picks for some Commander sleepers from M19. Hopefully you all found this enjoyable. Chris, buddy, I told you we'd make the video for you. Hopefully you found it enjoyable as well. If you like the kind of content that we're doing here at Magic Stew, please consider giving us a subscribe. Hit the little bell motion. I told you, this is the explosive apparatus motion. Is the new bell motion. But hit the bell, subscribe, leave us a like, leave us a comment. If this video is anything, it's proof that we read the comments, because honestly, I'm not doing this for a paycheck, or I'm not doing this for free stuff from Wizards. I'm doing this because I like talking to you guys, and I like making the kind of content that I would like to see on YouTube. So until next time, I'm Kyle Ott from Magic Stew. You guys freaking rule, and peace.